IntelliQvic training tutorial. In this example, we're going to do a taper cut, and we're going to use the class-b.dxf example, and we're going to make something like what is on the screen here, a taper cut, size on the top of the block, and tapering wide to the bottom. So let me show you how we do that. Let me clear the screen, and we'll import the 2D file by choosing 2D file insert and class B. Now class B, as we remember before, has the origin in the wrong spot, so we're going to use place model. We're going to pick the center hole to define a reference and move our reference to that, so we have our 0, 0 there. And I did those examples in the previous, those steps in the previous examples, so we should already know how to do those. So next step is our feature recognition and contour extraction. Our wire cut blocks, I believe they are 3/4 of an inch actually. So what I want to do is cut this size that's in the drawing. Obviously it comes in at Z0, just flat, but we're making it like a 3D shape. So what I actually want is put that plane, or this geometry, at the top plane, which would be the top of my block here. TP is your program plane. So the shape is going to go at the top, and the T next, we're going to leave that at 0. And like we did before, we're going to pick die, start element, just pick any one of the elements and hit extract. So there is our three-dimensional shape, 3/4 of an inch tall. So next step is I want to put the taper on it. So we'll go into contour advanced at the bottom, this choice here. And this gets a little bit tricky to use, so pay attention. Up here in the top left, we have a taper, and there's a pull down. We set our angle, we set our direction, and we hit define. So I'm going to put a 2 degree on it so we can see it. I'm going to select this to be bottom open and then hit define. And notice our shape, it shows you the in 3D what it would look like. So that's a pretty easy way to put taper on the part. So if you wanted to put taper all the way around the whole shape, obviously the next step is to put the 2D starting hole in. So we'll select starting hole and we'll say new, puts one at 0, 0 for me. And then next step is machining path, path generation, and we have just the one contour to choose from. We hit generate path, and then taper settings. We leave this check mark on retrieve from contour. Okay, and then you can continue on programming the part. What I would like to do is also show you one more thing you can do in the feature. So let's go back to our contour extraction page where we made our initial contour. Let's go back into the contour advanced page. And this is, remember, this is where we put our taper on the part. So what you can also do on this part is put taper on individual elements. Okay, so what I want to do is go to, see these arrow buttons here, left and right. See as I click these arrow buttons, the elements will light up on the screen. So element 1 is this left side element. Let's say I want to put an extra taper on that element. Well, before I do that, I got corner radiuses here and here. If they weren't there, I can just put the taper on it right here, but I need to first convert this radius and this radius into R's. So we do that by selecting those elements with the arrow keys so they light up, that corner, and I click convert to corner, and then you click define, and nothing really happens in this view, but I'll show you that later. Let me just go one more to do the other element, element 2, which is this one. do the same thing, convert to corner and define. Now, the radiuses are 35 and 61 thousandths. So what I can do is set them both 035, let's say, and hit define. I forgot, I should have done that all on the other stuff. See, now that converted it to a radius, top and bottom. So you can see what I'm talking about with a radius, and I'll put that one to 35 also. So they're both at 35 thousandths. Now I can take this wall and taper it to a big different angle. Let's put 4 degrees in, and it moves out. Okay, now that we have our geometry or the draft feature or the feature recognition the way we want it, we can move on to path, machining path. And we can generate our path. These are going to be similar parameters to how we had everything set before. Retrieve from contour for the taper settings. And we select the starting hole and what edge we want to lead onto. So that creates a, that'll have the taper in it and be ready to go. We go to NC conversion, convert to NC, and let's call it taper 1. Check your convert parameters if you need to, and then hit convert. Okay, now there's another way to taper. Let me show you the second way. Let's go back to our delete contour and start over. Okay, so we're back to geometry. We'll go to contour extraction, put on our part thickness before, same as before, hit die, select a face, and extract. And this time we won't do it through contour advanced like we did last time. This is nice if you do it here because you get a graphical image of what you're going to do before you move into machining path. But in machining path, there is those taper settings. We can do it in here also. We could shut off, retrieve from contour. Now in here it'd be just a taper all the way around. You cannot taper angles or change angles around the shape. It would be the same angle all the way around. So this is, if you're doing all the way around the shape, the same angle, this is probably an easy way to put it in. So you have a choice in here of the taper angle on the rough cut and the taper angle on the finish cut. And then here's your bottom open. So make sure, a couple of things, if you want to taper all the cuts, you put your same angle here as you have up here, and then all the cuts will be tapered. What this allows you to do, finish taper angle, allows you to zero out the taper so you can put a land on the part. So in this example, I'm programming straight to the top with the taper. I didn't leave any stock up there for a land. So, and we're going to leave the angles set the same for both. And you just make our program. Okay, and then you can graphic draw that, generate the NC code. Let's say taper 2. Okay, now if we want to do a taper in land, now that's a little different. Let's go back to delete contour, and let me do this again. On our contour extraction page, let me just delete that, start over. So now if we're going to do a taper and land, our block is 3/4 of an inch thick. If I want to leave a land at the top, I'm going to put my table of program a little bit lower by the thickness of the land. So let's say I want to leave 100 thousandths land, so I'm going to go 650 here. And TN, die, extract. Okay. Now we're going to go machining path, path generation, and we'll zero this out. So our taper will be on the rough cut, and the finish cuts will be straight. And I set, when I made the, remember I made the feature recognition, I set that 100 thousandths lower. So that will leave that 100 thousandths at the top for the finish to remove. Okay, so I'm going to make the G code for that. Convert to NC. Taper -3. Now let me show you what that does. Let me go to my IntelliQvic folders. Taper 3. Okay. See this TP and TN? The TP is 0.65, TN 0. So it moves your geometry shape up to 0.65 and tapers it wide to the bottom. And because we have an angle, we have an A2 in our program. So those are the differences between a straight cut and a taper cut. So this one will have the land. When you cut this with a 0.75 thick block, it'll taper it. It'll be on size at the very top of the block will be small at the very, if you were to measure it before you did the land cut, because you have to have stock in there to skim out. So it'll taper A2 on the rough cut. And then here's where the skim cut starts, figure 2 or figure 1 second cut. And there's no angle in there. So these cuts are going to be made with the wire straight. So that'll put the land on for us.